Hello, and welcome back to Live Now with Veenu and Chuck. I'm your host, along with my co-host, Chuck Hogan. We want to welcome you to Spanglish World Network and Her Network on Zingo TV's channel 250 and 251. Remember to download both the Zingo TV app on respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire Sticks, and Roku Sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. So tonight, Chuck and I were talking about what we were going to discuss. And since he's the birthday boy, he got to choose the topic. So, Chuck, what did you decide that we were going to have a powwow about tonight?
You know, thank you, Veenu, and thank you for all the well wishes today, too. I really appreciate you, my sister. One more trip around the sun. Today we were going to discuss skill versus experience and why it is so important to acknowledge the difference between the two. Oftentimes, you and I have found this so many times in the pursuit of skill that we ended up having some major experiences. And there's this kind of ideology that goes along with this too, and that is experience always just predicated with time? So I've been on this planet longer, hence I have more experience. Or is it really more a marker of commitment to a specific regiment, if you will, of experiences that actually culminate in this lifelong experience? So as an example, when you were learning how to ride a bike, there are some kids that just pick it up immediately. They have this skill, this balance, this ability to be able to pedal, the controlling of the handlebars, and even the braking system, which is a really important skill to learn. And the interesting part about it is that as they're starting off, they're all wobbly, no different than walking. And within a very short period of time, you see them getting really, really, really adventurous. And they're like going, ooh, I can jump this curb. Ooh, I can go up the driveway. Ooh, I can go down the driveway. Now, what's the difference? Well, the first time you experience going over the handlebars, you actually start to understand what your brakes are really for. The first time you slide out, or you're out of control going down the driveway, or even going up the hill where you're pedaling so hard and you're figuring, oh, you know what, if I stand up on the pedals instead of sitting down, I can actually make it up. If I grab on really tight to the handlebars. Why? These experiences come from actually going through the journey. And sometimes that can happen. The experience can be culminated to a high level of proficiency in a very short period of time. So you may know some people like this. In fact, I believe that your children are like this. So if I were to look at your son and I were to say, okay, soccer, and you're like going, the kid has a knack for it, right? You just don't even have to really push him. He has this desire and he has this yearning to learn, and he practices all the time. Well, hence he is engaging in the experience. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's getting a lot more skill. Or is he? See, because as you start to learn your body and your foot placement on the ball, so it's dribbling, striking the ball, moving the ball, passing the ball, you start to create more skill in the engagement. Then if you get someone like a Lionel Messi or Ronaldo or someone else who shows you and they're like, ooh, I saw him do a bicycle kick. Well, the first probably 100 times you try and do this, epic win or epic fail, you're like going, wah, wah, wah. It's not a great look. You know, they're all, what happened to you? I tried the kick again, Mom, but I'm getting it. I actually made contact this time. It's like, did it go where you wanted to go? Not yet. So why do I go there? There's a lot of people who will espouse proficiency in life because they've learned a few skills. And they may have used them a couple times, but they don't have the experience yet. So they don't really know everything.
So it's a really interesting question. I love the example you gave. And so my take when we said, hey, well, let's talk about this, I thought about, how do I know if it's a skill I need to know? And how do I know if it's an experience, and what level of skill do I want to know it at? And I feel like when we look at what's the outcome, is the outcome to master it? is the outcome to master something because you want to make a difference. So let's take coaching. You and I both have been growing up, if you would, in the realm of personal development. And how many people we know that go to one event and they come out and they're like, I'm a life coach. I'm going to coach you. And because there's no criteria for life coach, you see a rainbow of colors of coaches. Say that, I mean skill level, right? We always say skill level. And when I think of that, because I was just talking to a client today, and she says the wannabe coaches. And that's her language, that's her perception. And because she's my client, I understand her model of the world when she says that. And how I interpreted that was people who have learned a skill but have no experience in that skill to have mastered it, to know what to do with the skill.
Yes.
And so, to your point in talking about the bike, I remember I can go back. So when you're talking about it, I'm going back to my little enclosed screen porch. I was 5 years old, and there was a step, a cement step. So I'd use that to push off and get my balance and push off. And I would go around in a circle, around in a circle, but I didn't know how to stop. So I had to come close to that stair and learn how to stop. So that was a skill, learning how to push off, learning how to stop with it. And then once I got comfortable, and the more that I did it, the more I experienced stopping and starting, and the more I experienced what it felt like in my body to have the balance.
Right.
I realized, what if I could do the same skill without the stair and learn how to push off with my own feet and stop with my feet? And amongst getting hurt a couple times, because it was a boy's bike, so that did not feel so great, I learned very quickly how to shift my body.
Yep.
And so I didn't get hurt anymore, and I was able to do it. So it was the initial skill, the experience working through that skill to get me better at what I did, to where as I got older and I practiced more, through the experience, I was riding my bike without hands, which was like a great thing to do. I was like you said, jumping the curbs and going up and down. So it's the same thing with everything in our life. It's what's the outcome. If in history, I had to learn the skill of memorizing the dates of the Stamp Act and the Boston Tea Party, that I didn't feel I needed to master in any sense of the word. It was a skill that I learned in that moment. And to this day, I don't know those dates, by the way, because I only needed it for a test. And how many tests did I need that for? 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, all these grades. But again, I did not remember it. I did not master the understanding because I did not experience it. And again, to your point, when our teacher made us experience World War II, because we did a whole enactment of trial with Harry Truman and dropping the bomb. And, all of a sudden, guess what? Because I experienced the dates and the reason, I know more about that in our history of time than I knew about anything else. Because again, it's the experience through the skill that allows us to create the mastery of it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and you brought up a great point. The outcome, is it to actually be present in the experience so that we actually have the moment? Or is it to cultivate proficiency so that way we actually gain in our aptitude, in our level of competency, where, as we've discussed in the past, we develop unconscious competence around a task. So kind of like driving a car. When you first get your driver's license, boy, you are like acutely aware of everything. Oh, white knuckle, you're stopping way before the intersection and be like going, dude, like semi-truck length. Come on, like move up. Just, yeah, come on, Dougie. And as you get more comfortable with the experience, and it's also this concept too, that some people don't link, which is uber important, that is perception. That there's a difference between the aptitude of having skill and perception. So, easy example, someone graduates from medical school. Awesome. They're a doctor. Passed the course, went through the practicals, basically have done everything. So What's the challenge? Well,
Nope.
how many people have you operated on? I've helped. I've assisted. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about, because I need a surgery. Everyone's telling me that you're my guy. And I look at your resume and I go, you've been practicing, what time is it? You just get out, he's like, you just change out of the wardrobe, you just got your tassel. Hello. And so why do I go there? Well, it doesn't necessarily emote a lot of confidence just because you have pedigree. You may have gone to Harvard Medical School. You may have done your rotations at some very prestigious installations. And on the other side of it, you still don't have time in the saddle when it comes to actually performing of some of these skills. So you probably wouldn't give all of your money to someone who just started investment trading yesterday.
Well, and that's why we say that experience also gives you the know-how to what to do with the skill, So to your point, with the Neuroencoding Institute as the instructor, you could pass the test. Guess what? You're a coach by all stretch of the imagination. You passed it, you took it. And how many of you are actually going and coaching? Not many of them. You know why? Because they don't have the confidence that they know what to do with that skill. Hence, we created another program that gives you the hand holding, the experience you need. Like, you partner up. You literally have a partner that you're coaching every week. Why? To your point, you learn the skill. Now you need the experience, but not just to understand it deeper, to get better at it, to literally feel confident, your self-confidence in that you've taken a skill and now you have the experience of doing it and getting the results you want.
Absolutely. It's a blending of ecologies, if you want to think of it this way. So let's talk about like being a chef. So you learn really great knife skills. Oh, you can chop and dice and slice and julienne anything you want. And you're like, oh, they're all symmetrical and thin and just right. And you're like, oh, very good with a knife. And they go, okay, so how are you with baking? And you're like going, wait, what? That's not knife skill. No, it's not. But you are becoming a chef. And they're like going, oh, so what type of chef are you? Do you bake and cook and saute and make sauces and do breakfast, lunch, dessert, and do you do aperitifs and appetizers and entrees? Okay, time out. I'm good with a knife.
Right. I got the skill down.
That's awesome. It's like, how are you with fish? No, I don't do fish. Steak. Okay. So your skills are specifically honed to different channels. And we can go back to the doctor for a moment, because this is a great one. You're a doctor. Yes. In fact, you see this in the movies. Hey, do we have a doctor on the plane? And they're like going, oh, I'm a doctor. And they bring him up and they're going, this man appears to be having a heart attack. He goes, well, I'm a proctologist. And they're like going, you can go back to your seat. Big glove. No. So it's like going, let's start his heart. That was probably not the best strategy. But why? Because there's this propensity that when we get a title and we have a certain set of skills, that the moniker that comes with it automatically gives some people a presupposition of experience.
Right.
And then I know some people who are doctors of philosophy. Wrong doc. No, right doc, just not right timing. And so why do we go there? There's this tendency for people, to your point, in the world of coaching, strategizing, and I will say in the world of personal development, growth, expansion, that because of their life experience, due to their life experience, when they get a monicum of skill, they're able to link these two things together. And they're like, blending of ecologies. I've had 40 years, 30 years of business experience. I've had 30 years of being the child whisperer. I've had 30 years of being a neurostrategist. I've had 30 years in business enterprise, parenting. You're like, ooh, so you're not the culmination of one thing. You're the amalgamation of all these things. And that combined experience coupled with skill, powerful mojo.
Yeah.
It creates like this really amazing concoction where people go, ooh, they're able to go ahead and walk the talk, walk me through processes, skill sets, modalities, archetypes, and put it in a way that I can apply this personally and professionally.
Mind blown. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's looking for the experience, right? It's honing in.
Mm.
And this is what I love, like going back to your knife example. It's if you love the knife, if that is your niche, if that is what you're great at, then hone in on that. And where are you best used for your skills that you can master through the experience that you have? You
Right.
know, and choose wisely, because I think that that takes us into another talk, which you and I will probably have on another show is, you know, creating abundance versus scarcity
Oh,
is thinking that I have to have it all. Like I tell people, I'm like, well, what kind of coach are you? Well, you know, life coach. Great. So what do you coach on? Life. What part of life specifically? Well, you know, just everything. Okay. So if somebody wants to make, you know, an 8-figure income, could you coach? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And what's your income? Oh, I'm at 5. I'm getting to 6 though. Well, here's where we come in. And this is like what our good friend Joseph McClendon III says. You don't coach theory. Like,
right.
how are you, what experience? Because that's what I'm looking for, right? When I'm looking for a business coach, which I've had in the past, it's have they already done what I want to do? Now, not necessarily
Yes.
in my niche, you know, like being part of YBL, like we have some of the best business strategists there, and they don't need to be a coach. They just have created different businesses and they know how to scale them. They know what all businesses need at the core. So they know how to raise what I want to do using my niche.
And, and they're at a different level now too, where they're living in philanthropy and they want to give back.
Correct.
So they're filling up. They've had the science of success, and now they are exercising the art of fulfillment.
Right.
So through this, again, blending of ecologies, your challenges, their insights, distinctions, their feet on the street, 45, 50 years of experience,
That,
we're getting the benefit of those journeys. It's like if you're going to Antarctica, I don't want to be your first client. Not judging, just saying. You know, hey, so how many times have you made this trek? Oh, this is my first time.
right.
But hey, I have GPS, I have a map, I know people, and I'm like going,
Still not the person I'm going to take.
uh, nay. That was not the right answer. It's like going, okay, so I'm the bell cow. And you're like, oh, well, if I can take you and you have a great experience, you know a bunch of people, you're going to tell them all about me, right? And I go, yeah, as long as we make it back alive. And at this point, can I see your ship? Well, I don't have one. We're going on a charter on someone else's. How many times have they gone to Antarctica? Oh, this is their first time too. I'm like, you know what? I think I've got a thing.
I'll schedule it next time. Well, you know, and to your point, again, it's bringing their skill, it's bringing their experience. Just like with me, when people say, how'd you get in this niche? I have 6 kids. I have almost every title of parent where I have adult kids. So I could tell you if you keep doing what you're doing, what the end result is, because I see the end result from the way I used to parent, right? Versus the result that I get now with the way I parent now. I also have been a boy mom. I've been a mom of multiples. I'm a stepmom. Like the list goes on. So I have the experience. I've actually been a teacher for a while. So I have the experience of being a teacher, getting other people's kids on and teaching them how to learn, right? So
Yeah.
having the experience magnified the skills that I have learned from different pots, if you would. You know, I've learned from this, I've learned from that, I've learned from that. It's an accumulation of the professional with the personal experience.
Yes.
You know, and exactly what I was saying about the strategists, you know, at YBL is that they have the personal experience, not just the professional experience. So when we're looking at experience, I think it's also important to look at what experience are we talking about? Are we talking about, is there a personal element to it? Because, you know, Chuck, you're one of my best friends. So you know that I'll just call you up and I'll vent a lot about my own personal stuff. And I go through it and I share with people. I'm like, this is where I was not the parent whisperer. It was more the parent yeller. And this is the outcome that I got. And this is what I realized. And this is how I shifted it. And I'm like, oh, that's good stuff. This works. This is something now I can give someone else because I personally experienced the shift.
Well, and you invested in the lessons and the learnings.
Yeah.
See, it's when we go through the experiences and then we become dismissive. Like, that's what everyone goes through. And I go, then there's probably some merit to it. If everyone's going through it, the challenge becomes is, are they learning from it? Or are they just going, well, it's a phase. I hear this so often with people go, oh, it's a phase. I go, till it's not. Then it becomes a lifestyle. Till it becomes a pattern or behavior that feels less than becoming, that it's being done out of a need to express oneself. If it's yelling, shouting, for some people it's being quiet. And they go, they never talk. They don't express themselves. We wish they would do something. And they're like going, well, I'm just afraid that if I do or say something, that someone's going to judge me. So if I'm quiet and I listen, I see everything that's going on. And I'll speak when spoken to. And people go, oh, they're so stoic. There's so much wisdom in them. And that's like going, yes, they don't say much, but when they speak, it's powerful. Then there's others, they never shut up. And so you're like going, oh, they have no filter. Oh, and is that a great strategy? I said, neither one is right or wrong.
Yes.
They've just had a different culmination of experiences that has resulted in some rules of engagement for them. Because in some environments, the person who's really quiet is a chatty Cathy over here. And you're like going, what's different? They are in this space because they feel the different energy. They feel a different connection. And someone goes, oh, is that a skill they learned? I go, actually, that's probably more attributable to an experience that they had. Because see, we can all learn skill. Skill can be taught. Experience is an investment. And the only time you get the experience is when you're actually committed.
And you just said the word time. You have to invest the time. You have to invest. You're not going to have an experience without investing any time into it.
And energy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get what you put into it. So if you want a haphazard experience, half-bake it.
And I like what you said. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just an experience.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things that I've learned really recently from one of my other teachers is that there is no good and bad. When we were born, there was no good and bad. When we cried, our parents were like, oh, okay, what do you need? It wasn't categorized as good or bad. It was just she's crying or he's crying. It wasn't until we got older that, nope, don't be bad. Don't be bad. And that's when our psyche got to learn like, hey, there's a good and a bad. And the only way to be is good. And so there's a right way, there's a wrong way. Instead of like, this is just an experience. It's not good or bad. It's not aligned with what we're doing right now, but it's not good or bad. And to take us out of that, if there's a chatty Cathy, if there's just an observer, it's not good or bad. It just is in that moment. And that person is going to experience what they need to experience in that moment.
Without question. And we're meaning makers. That's what we do. We take everything, every experience, every modality, every option, every opportunity, and we attach a meaning to it. Well, someone goes, okay, is that good or bad? And they go, again, neither. To your point, when you're little, crying, laughter, cooing, said it's all communication, it's expression. And somewhere along the line, normally around 18 months to 2 years, we start seeing that people are now starting to push the envelope and judge. Oh, they're lashing out. You're like, no, they're uncomfortable. They're hungry. Their pants are wet. They soiled themselves. They need a little love. They need a little connection. And it's like, oh, well, we can do that. Well, you did it when they were newbies, when they were brand new babies. And so where does it start to shift? And I say it starts to shift when our energy shifts. And this is where it gets very interesting, because we'll start to go, oh, they're so hype. They're just hyper kids. They're everywhere. And I go, well, that would be boys. And that's kind of what the way they roll when they're little. My girls were much more sedate and subdued.
Oh, my God.
And then it flipped. And I was like, going, okay, so the rules. And so to your point, is there a right or wrong? Is there masculine and feminine? I go, Ish.
Right.
Ish depends on what you're doing. You turn on music, my girl's all over the place. My son was like, you sports, martial arts? Oh yeah, he's on like Donkey Kong. And then one of my daughters on. The other one's like, show me a violin. Show me, actually for her it was the clarinet. And it was like, okay. So why do we go there with this whole thing, skill versus experience? There's this interesting facet, which is perception is key. And in today's environment, there's so many different monikers around titles of you are this. This is what you have. These are your ailments. These are your gifts. And I was reminded by my sister, and I have a autistic nephew, that what if autism is the next rung of evolution of sensory acuity and awareness in humankind, where instead of being the hunter-gatherer ideology where we had to be so, myopically focused to capture the game, to otherwise you weren't going to eat. And it was a fight or flight mechanism from the saber-toothed tiger to the deer that you were trying to catch. It's like saber-toothed tiger, fear, deer, food, good. And now it's like, how do many, some people just go, where's the McRib sandwich? What do we need right now to be able to have this connection where we start to see, okay, I need to be sensory aware, because now there's this thing called social media. And so your likes and your followers and your connection and your comments and all these things that are being made, and it's like, ooh, that's interesting. So what if that proclivity of being able to multitask and being what someone might say, is ADHD or enhanced in autism, that now you're able to take in because your brain's not distorting, deleting, and generalizing as much information. So, because you have the capacity to uptake and intake a lot more data.
I think that amongst every person that I've had the pleasure of learning from in my personal growth journey, every single one of them has said, nothing has a meaning but the meaning you give it.
Absolutely.
And again, it's understanding the different skills. Like, I think that it's the skills that we have that give us our experience.
Yes.
Talking is a skill. Listening is a skill. What we do is a skill. What we do with it in a period of time is the experience we get with that skill.
Yes.
Somebody, one of our listeners, says that she's an ADHD educator.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, 5 of my 6 kids have ADHD. So bless you for being out there. And let me tell you, it takes a skill to be able to understand and help these kids adapt to all the different stimuli that's going on in their brain in that moment, to be able to, hone in and help these kids.
Yes.
To say, hey, nothing's wrong with you. Like, there's nothing wrong with you at all. We're going to show you how to learn differently. We're going to help you calm the brain, focus, be present, and keep moving on. And again, it's a skill that you must have. And as you learn to get better, it's through the experiences that you do that you get to master them and create your niche.
Oh, without question. It's funny, Veenu, that you say that, because I hearken back and go, they say it's hereditary, so my wife looks at me and goes, duh.
Yeah, me too. My husband and I both have ADHD, so.
So, oh, thank you, Eva. That's amazing. 16 years. Yes. And here's the thing. It's a calling, isn't it? Your experience, your aptitude, your insights, your distinctions, your ability to be able to assess. And it's very interesting because I look at it now and go, wow, I know how much I daydreamed in school. I know how literally I had to will myself to have the focus. Like, it was like, pick a point, look at it, get engaged, been in it. And then I was like, okay, what's the difference between 40 years ago when I was a little kid and now? If I'm being truthful, 50 years ago. It's been a minute. And so senility starts setting in. You start losing things like numbers and the ability to do addition and subtraction. So here's the reason why I'm bringing this up, though. It's very, very, very simple. Today, this device, 15 years old, literally iPhone 15 years old, it is remarkable the amount of data and distraction that is available to you at any given moment in time in your pocket. In the past, that was a book, a magazine, a television show. Now, it's not like you have 5 channels to choose from. You have every streaming service known to man. It can live an a la carte lifestyle where you can feed the narrative of your mind simply by being on Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO, Max. I can go on and on and on and on. Zingo TV, Spanglish World Network, the H.E.R. So why? You can program for you where your attention and time and information is being channeled. So if you're spending time on Roku or Amazon or the web or the apps or this or that, and you happen to be over in Europe or in Asia and continental United States, here's the beauty. This show is streaming internationally. This information and these concepts that we're talking about. So why live now and why skill versus experience? Because you brought this up earlier, Veenu, and thank you for this. Living is about being present in the moment and appreciating the skills that you can acquire, hone, and advance in while appreciating and applying them. You can have all the ingredients to make the most beautiful cake, and if you don't follow the recipe, now people go, I do it a little different. And I go, awesome. And I'll ask, is it better or worse? And they go, neither. It's different. It's like, I kind of like this.
Well, I think people are always looking for it to be good or bad. Again, is it better or is it worse? And I love that they say neither. It's just different. Yes. And it goes to what Eva's saying. We are getting better at internalizing our needs with technology. That is so true because technology is here. Like, if we think we're going to skim over, I remember, probably 10 years ago, my mom's like, I'm not going to text. I'm like, Mom, you got to text. Like, Mom, you got to text. That's all my mom does now is text.
Right.
It's like, I'm not going to get a phone. Like, I'm never going to. And then everybody has a phone. It's stop saying you're not going to because you want to hold on to what you know. Because change is inevitable. Change is absolutely inevitable.
Yes.
We got to change with it because regardless if you want to do it or not, you can live in your bubble and this world's still going to change. Hate to tell you that, it's still going to change. And here's the other thing is that your perception is your honest truth. And we're not here to change it. We're here to help impact the way people see things. And it's still going to be your perception on what you want to hear and what you want to do with it.
Right.
Because again, we're living now. Yeah. We're living in the present. We're honing in on the changes that are happening in life. We're waking up to the world is changing. We have got to evolve with it.
Absolutely.
And the more we do, the more skills we acquire, the more experiences we're going to have in order to move forward with the changes. It's literally getting us prepared for what's coming up, which we don't even know what's coming up, but something's coming up.
It's I'm an old Trekkie. And so for those of you that know Star Trek and
beam me up, Scotty.
Well, Spock, right? And so Commander Spock, it's interesting when you look at his makeup and not his makeup, but his emotional, spiritual, physical makeup, super strong, like 10 times as strong as a normal human being and devoid of emotion. Because they actually started, and it's almost like the antithesis of modern day man. Because we go, what elevates us? It's like emotions, feelings, the rules and the connections that we have, the meaning that we're able to create with it. And emotions are such a strong driver, both the triggers, the anchors, and I'll just say the reactions that we end up having to different things that go on. And it's all based on the meaning we've given something.
Right.
When you remove the emotion, what are you left with? Well, what Spock always said, logic. Live long and prosper. It's like, I'm actually impressed I'm still able to do this. So why is this so important to understand? The meaning that we give to something is that, oh, you're such a logical person. All you do is buy the book. It has to make mathematical sense. The algorithm's there, right? And I go, well, guess what Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, social media are running off of? The measurements that they're using are algorithmic.
Yeah.
They're mathematical in nature. They're looking at time, tendency, intensity, all these different things. And it's like, wow, okay. So they're measuring everything when in real time. So for you, what are they playing on? And this is where it gets really interesting. Your emotions. Because when you get that, hey, and by the way, we have those True Religion jeans in your size 4, Veenu, and they're available for you right now. They're the cut that you like. And we know that you've been looking at these things because you were looking for light denim. And it's like, holy smokes. They're feeding my what? My need and my wants. So they go, okay, so what kind of experience does that create for you? Well, when you attach meaning and emotion to it, energy in motion creates emotion. Now, well, I have a responsibility to buy those jeans. I have a responsibility to buy those jeans because they're my size and they're perfect for me. Why? Because they said so. And I happen to like that brand. So what do?
Sold.
Done. What other colors? And if you're my wife, what other colors do they come in? And so it's like, why? Because dang it, these look good on me. Yes, and they don't make my butt look big at all. True story. So why do I go there? How much skill was involved in that transaction?
Well, there's definitely skill in there.
On whose part though?
On the robot.
That's it. Because what did we do? We bought. Why? Because our needs were being met at the highest level.
And the skill was searching out in the algorithm.
Yep.
What is this person looking for? What did they Google last?
Yes.
And, here you go.
Yeah. That's it. It's called listening. And they listen to your actions, your buying proclivity, what you're searching, not just on their site, on everyone's site. Because Amazon Web Services, we think it's just Amazon, the store. Oh, nay. They're controlling internet and interfaces and search engines and data and. It's like, wow. So is Big Brother watching? Heck yeah.
Especially tomorrow because it's Prime Day.
How did you know that? It's like going, well, I am a frequent buyer.
Because it's every other ad on my Facebook right now.
See? And so, but this is the other part too, to your point. Their experience says that if we provide continuous information, i.e. what we might exude as technology, because it's an interface, that this is good for us. So in some ways, we are being marginalized in our meaning making by having our personal brand met. They go, wait, what do you mean your personal brand? Well, there's a certain style, colors, sense, appearance, lifestyle that are 21st century issues.
I just thought about something.
I'm a troublemaker. You know that. So
we do this, but I was just thinking, how many personal development events have we been to? Probably too many to count between both of us, correct?
It's yes.
And here's the biggest thing I hear. Another sales pitch. And I think about, is it skill or experience? Because here's what I do have to say. I don't think I'd be who I am today if I didn't know what the next level of whatever event I went to.
Right.
Like if they didn't tell me like, hey, you've done this. If it's been good for you and you want to go even deeper, do X, Y, Z. So I'm like, let me figure out how to do X, Y, Z because this has already changed my life. And across the board, it doesn't matter who your teacher is, right? It doesn't matter what event. It's the way it goes. And then it gets to the point where what made me buy definitely my experience. Exactly what you're saying. Definitely my experience. And then what makes it exhausting? When you start to realize that this person is just using skill. There's no emotional tie to this. And then they try to bring in different people to come and give a testimonial.
Sure.
And it feels so forced. It's not the experience
Yes.
they gave into it, right? So,
So there's
you
a
know,
formula for success, like we talked about. There's a science to success. And if they're able to go ahead and utilize that leverage, then they know that they're going to have a percentage of response. And so statistical analysis and data and actuarials are very important in these engagement strategies. We call it getting leverage. If we keep you frozen in a room for 14 hours and that you're in a different brainwave, and it really does change the ideology with which people are engaging. So it's like, okay, do I really need this? They're telling me I do, because everyone needs a coach. Everyone needs, someone to be accountable to. And I'm like going, well, last time I checked, that's my wife and my kids and my beautiful friend Veenu and others that I trust and appreciate who are in my inner circle. Why? Because they know me.
right.
They don't judge me. They know me. And they tell me the truth. Why? Because we've given permission to one another and we have that level of relationship. Now, they go, well, what does that have to do with selling? Well, I agree with you, Veenu. Providing opportunity is different than being leveraged. And
Correct. And I was thinking that I have so many people that ask me,
Mhm.
Tell me, what are you doing now? Where are you learning now? And where are you going to get it? And I tell them, like, oh, I just joined YBL because I was like, I need a mastermind group. I need to surround myself with like-minded people that are constantly taking their life to another level. And so I don't have to sell it
no,
because people see what I'm doing in my life and how I'm growing. My family's growing. My family's coming with me. We're doing things together. And it's like, oh, well, what did you do? So I think that's the difference. It's not a skill because I'm not a seller. Like I've told people, I don't sell like that. I'm not a good salesperson. I'm not a salesy person. And yet I'm a great connector because of the experiences I've had in different organizations in different ways. And people want what they see. They want, because without even knowing, I'm sharing my experience with people and they're like, oh, I want some of that. And then they come to the source.
well, your exuberance, number one, your lifestyle, number two, you walk the talk, number three. And that's so important. It's that it's not shelf help. You're not buying another program and putting it on the shelf and then hoping osmotically it's going to pass into your prefrontal cortex and your your RAS, your reticular activating system is just going, I got it. I'm ready. Just Jack. You're like, oh, no, that's not, there's no jazz hands. There's not like an epiphany.
That would have saved me a lot of money if that happened, by the way.
That would be brilliant. I'm like going, sign me up. Just plug me in. Like, okay, the download's done. And yet, if you had the download, and that's actually a great segue to this, would it give you the experience? It's like, no, it wouldn't. In fact, it doesn't develop the sensory motor skill. So even if you watch someone do it a million times, it doesn't mean that you can copy what they do because you don't have the sensory motor skill. You don't have the kinesthetic touch. We don't have the same modalities of engagement. It's like, ooh, this makes a difference. And I love what Eva says. She goes, no motion, no buy-in. It's so true. And that's why so many people will play and tug at the heartstrings. They'll go ahead and leverage you and see, oh, well, who are you doing this for? Your kids, your loved one, your wife, your spouse, your mom, your dad, your second cousin on your mother's side, because they just happen to be a nice person. You're like, wait, what?
Well, it's so funny because I was just talking to someone the other day, because I was at another event. And they said that the instructor's so brilliant. He doesn't need people to come give testimonies. He doesn't need to sell the next level, whatever it is, because he's so brilliant. And we've already had this experience after 4 days that it's a no-brainer. Just say what's next because people already had this. Like the event that I was at had, I don't know, I'm going to just make up the number, 72 people. All 72 people had their cameras on. And I'm going to tell you, I've never been at an event except for this person's event that has every camera on the whole time.
Yeah.
And they're on time.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing in the Zoom world because I never see that. And I do a lot of different events from different people. And this particular event that I go to, it's my second year doing the same events because I really want to master some skills, by the way. I'm going to master these skills through the experiences I have with learning the skills. And it's so interesting that this whole sales thing, is it a skill or is it an experience? And again, like Eva said, no emotion, no buy-in. It's the emotions come from the experience. The emotion doesn't come from, oh, Chuck, you got great skills, dude. I'm in. I want to have the skills you have. I'm in. No, Chuck, the way you've expressed your experience with this, I want that experience. And now I got buy-in. Now I want what you got. I want some of that. And again, it's not the skill, it's the experience that people really want to have.
Well, and there's something to be said about that. And that is the perception of the experience, which means now there's connection.
Yes.
Now there's connection. And especially when people feel valued in the engagement, where it's like you're not being spoken at, you're being catered to. You're being given information that's necessary, that's powerful. And, and again, and this is beautiful, Eva. Thank you for this. She says, I needed my audience to receive the information about a life they didn't expect. And we have a friend named Deb Battersby, and we believe are always giving credit to source. And she has this ideology, which is, what if there are no bad or good emotions? What if they're just emotions? And each and every one of them is there to serve you. So in that state that we're not looking for better, we're not looking to be a better person, because what's better? That means I would have to judge, and whatever I was before was less than. That's the presupposition. So what if we just look for, and you said this earlier, Veenu, and I meant to address it at that time. You said, be the difference, which is different. If we're looking to be a different part of ourselves, another part of ourselves, I go, isn't that experiential? Isn't that inquisitive, where there's no criticism? But yes, and there's love, support, and curiosity. So no criticism, but curiosity. Ooh. So are we really able to go ahead and leverage and give away the doubt and kind of the self-deprivation where we start to judge self and minimize our own opportunity? Well, with enough experience, we remember how to forgive. And someone goes, ooh, that's a great skill to manifest. And I go, yes. So when do you decide that skill is yours now? Because now that we've had this discussion, I would actually contest that skill and experience are like the yin and yang, in that they feed each other, and that they're not mutually exclusive. They're actually tethered together.
Whew. You left us some heavy stuff there, Chuck.
Hey, it's my birthday. I get to go deep.
So good. So good. So that's it, Chuck. That's it. We're done.
I can't believe it. This goes way too freaking fast. I mean, it's just like, really people. So, Veenu, it's so great to be back with you, and I so enjoy these Monday nights where we get to collaborate. It feels remarkable.
Just be real and raw. And I love, Eva says happy birthday, but she also said, if you don't forgive, you have to hold the weight and not the peace. And that is so, so true. So, so true. So once again, we want to thank you all for joining us. If you have questions and comments, you can find Chuck and I on Instagram, Veenu Inspires. And is your Instagram Chuck Hogan? Is that your?
Yep.
Chuck Hogan? Yep. Simple. His is simple. Chuck Hogan, Veenu Inspires. Leave comments, leave questions. We love to bring you guys into the audience. You guys have been so great. What a great live audience we've had today with all the comments. And we love it. We love it. So thank you again for joining in the conversation tonight. The show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all your news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.